For me, as a journalist, it was always Judicial Watch, especially after I started working years ago in California, covering the U.S.-Mexico border and immigration, something that Judicial Watch was at the forefront, I believe, in investigating the bureaucracy and all of the loopholes and actually the national security problems that we were having along the 2,000-mile border with Mexico. It was you guys were at the forefront. You were the ones fighting the system and fighting for documents that the government was refusing to give up on. Did you ever think, decades ago, when you were fighting for those documents, when you were looking at, immigration issues, border issues, law enforcement issues, that we'd ever end up at this point that we're in today, that there was this much malfeasance and corruption inside the U.S. government?
Well, we were first and foremost in going after Clinton corruption. Right. So nothing really shocks us or surprises us in that regard. Obama was terribly corrupt. Remember, we had the IRS scandal, we had the Benghazi scandal that Judicial Watch helped break open. So in many ways, it's not surprising, but it's still upsetting and shocking. You know it's bad, and then you get evidence how bad it is, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And what happened with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and all the rest, including appointees of President Trump, in terms of targeting of Trump, there's really been no scandal like it in American history. But you really have to go to foreign countries to get that type of corruption.
Well, I always say, it reminded me so much, even when I was first working in 2016, 2015, even with John Solomon, on uncovering what we eventually called the Russia hoax or the Russia scandal, Obamagate. I thought, am I in the United States of America, or am I in a banana republic?
Well, you go back and you recognize that it worked before for Barack Obama. In 2012, he used the IRS to target his political enemies, and it helped suppress the Tea Party movement. It kept him in office. He used also the FBI. They gathered records about these Tea Party groups. They were thinking of prosecuting them. Remember our friend Catherine Engelbrecht? She had the FBI knocking on her door.
I remember that very well.
So they used the powers of government back then to successfully change, in my view, the outcome of the election. That's how you steal election in plain sight. Suppress an entire political movement that had organized against you. So 2016 comes around. Oh, lo and behold, they do the same thing again. They use these agencies of government to target their political opposition, and now we know why they were doing it.
We'll say it.
Our theory of the case was to protect Hillary.
Right.
And you may recall, and some people get tired of us talking about the Clinton emails, but my point has always been is that the Clinton emails were the reason we're in the state we're in.
It was the pinnacle of everything.
That's right, and they wanted to cover it up and protect her, and it was never just about Hillary. It was about the Obama's Justice Department, State Department, FBI, Defense Department. All of them were implicated in the email scandal, and it turns out the White House was implicated.
I want to go to something, though, and I think this is really important, probably something that all of you out there are thinking as well. I know I get emails all the time and letters from readers, from viewers that ask this question. Why does it seem that this isn't just an Obama problem? And I'm going to talk about this. Everybody calls President Trump the disruptor, right? I always say it was the American people that were the disruptors. But when you look at the 2016 inauguration, when President Trump was inaugurated, and you see how tight former President Bush, former President Bill Clinton were to Barack Obama and to what happened, and how angry they were towards President Trump's success, you have American people out there all the time, and Tom, I know you know this town better than anyone, saying to me, this isn't just a Democrat problem. This is a problem with the establishment, with the system. I mean, are they right?
Oh, they sure are. I mean, you had, I was talking to Sean Hannity today on the radio earlier today. And, there were two issues that we were facing. We're facing socialism. Big government usually means big corruption. So we kind of always knew that here at Judicial Watch. But on top of that, you really just had corruption, just base corruption. We saw that with Hillary Clinton, the way she turned the State Department, and we go through this exhaustively in the book, that the State Department was turned into a cash machine, cash cow for her and the foundation. Her husband was raking in tens of millions of dollars in speaking fees that were going to her in part. Remember?
Right.
You know, they're married, remember?
Right.
So, you know, presumably they share the cash.
$500,000 for one speech from Renaissance Bank. And I think people forget this. In Russia, and Renaissance Bank was actually run by the FSB, former FSB, which is Russian KGB, former Soviet KGB. This is incredible, but no one focuses in on, this is the problem. You've got a media, right? Mm-hmm. Very few people that are telling the truth the way Tom Fitton is in this book, folks. Very few people, because you have the Washington Post, the New York Times, the major players, CNN, MSNBC, ignoring it for the most part, not even asking the questions. So explain to me, when you find out, when you see documents that former President Bill Clinton is paid $500,000 for a speech by a Russian bank connected to Russian intelligence, what goes through your mind?
Well, obviously that money is inflated. And so what are they getting for their money? What were these major corporations here in town getting for their money? They were similarly giving him big money. And of course, none of the Republicans brought them in to say, well, why did you give Bill Clinton this obviously inflated speaking fee? What were you expecting in return? What was your return on investment?
Right.
And that question, now we know, needed to be asked of Hunter Biden, who was obviously getting business tied to his father's office. At the same time, Hillary was raking it in at the State Department. So it's one thing, now we know, look, they needed
it's
to protect,
a pattern,
they
right?
needed to protect Hillary, but there was more they needed to protect.
Themselves?
That's exactly right. So what did Obama know, and when did he know it with Hillary? We've got 20 plus emails between the two of them. Then we've got Joe Biden doing exactly what we were concerned about Hillary Clinton doing, except we didn't know it at the time. I mean, there were indications of it in the media, but the media wasn't interested in pursuing the obvious corruption there. And so President Trump, being the intuitive person he is, he knew there was this incipient corruption with Hillary Clinton. And then he gets into office and he figures out what was going on with Ukraine and Joe Biden.
But he wasn't playing the game. He wasn't playing the Washingtonian game. He wasn't dealing and wheeling.
And he cuts to the chase and he says, what was going on with Joe Biden and Burisma? And
just like any American.
And why aren't you investigating it? Mm-hmm. And they went crazy.
And they being both
the coup cabal, the leftist establishment, the Adam Schiffs of the world, the whole media establishment. And when you look back on it,
do you think the Republicans are to blame for this too? I mean, look, we have people on both sides.
No one defended him
right.
for highlighting this corruption. And what's been frustrating to me is how alone the president has been. And I go through this in the book. I'm convinced Judicial Watch saved the Trump presidency.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.